Hello everybody, I am Alexa, or Spiders Crawling Cosplay, and welcome to my web on the web. Today's video is going to be a tutorial, kind of, on how I did my Paracelsus prop for my ABA cosplay from Guilty Gear Strive. I'm also hoping that this is the earbud that has the microphone in it, because if not, I'm talking into the completely wrong one. If you see me repeatedly looking over there, it's because that's where my script is. This is also the second time that I filmed the intro, because the first time I found out that apparently when I'm nervous I say like a lot. I had to cut it out like 50 times and I was like, you know what? Just re-record it. There is no shame in second takes. So first and foremost, probably what is the most important part is whether or not this is convention friendly. I tried my best to make this convention friendly, but the main thing that you will have to take into consideration when going into a convention with this prop is the sheer size of it. I'm 5'6", this prop is about the same height as me, it's pretty large, and typically larger conventions will have you check in your prop beforehand. If you are curious about anything like that, typically they will have the prop rules on their website. As always, stay safe at conventions, make sure you have water, you have food, you're staying away from the ever-growing population of con creeps, which I will probably make, again, another separate video on some experiences I have had at the 3 conventions I have gone to. I'm personally making this because the makeup for ABA is very, very simple, and I wanted to have this as a backup cosplay. I like to have, I call them backup cosplays, I don't know if other people call them that, but I like to have a backup cosplay for when I'm going to a convention, just in case I don't finish the cosplay I'm making in time, which has happened several times because I procrastinate like a lot. I decided that she would be my backup cosplay because my previous backup cosplay was a Nezuko one I made when I was like 12. Does it still fit? Yes. Does it have a million open seams literally everywhere and it falls apart while I'm wearing it? Also yes, as do all of our first cosplays, okay? So this is going to be a much better made one that will hopefully not fall apart. There are so many scam phone calls that come to this house. It's insane. Anyway, so I think that it's important and that it's good to have a backup cosplay, just in case you don't get yours done on time. That's fine. I personally don't have any cosplays period right now. I just moved, which is where I got the majority of the materials for this from. I have like moving boxes and I have boxes from like furniture that I bought and everything that are currently just stacked up waiting for cosplay stuff. They're calling my name and I finally did it. So that is the basis of what I wanted to get out of the way. Next I will be talking about pricing and the materials that I used. You can use better, more expensive materials. This is, again, the cheapest possible way I could figure it out. You could probably cut a few more corners than I did by going to the Dollar Tree. Do not forget about the Dollar Tree. It is, like, actually the holy grail, and I love it there. I'm not sponsored, but it would be so cool if I was. So, pricing and materials. First and foremost, I wanted to talk about cardboard. Cardboard is one of the very few materials on this list you can likely get for free. I, again, got mine from packaging, but I was also able to get a little bit of cardboard by going into a local business and just asking if they had any that they were throwing away or recycling. They just handed it over to me. Make sure that you are nice about this, but the loud bird is the one that gets fed. I think I'm saying that saying wrong. I heard it on a Sarah Spaceman cosplay video and it's been in my head, but I can't remember the actual saying. Anyway, you can get cardboard for free. Ask friends, ask family. Likely somebody just ordered something from like Amazon or Walmart or whatever and they have some extra cardboard laying around. The next thing that you will need for it is foam clay. I personally use, one moment. I personally use Play-Doh air clay. I think it's called Play-Doh cloud clay now. This container is probably like 3 years old, but it comes with multiple packages of foam clay in it. I gotta dig for it because I put my mini brands in here too. This is what it looks like. It comes with like 5 hold on. It doesn't say, but it comes with a few of those. I like it because of the texture. I think that it's like so soft and squishy and I love it. So the next thing that we are going to be talking about is foam. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't find where to buy this. It's just styrofoam. I was looking up like packaging foam. I don't know why I was looking that up. I don't know. I'm sure you could find this super cheap, but again, this is something where if your friends and family are getting packages, or if you got a package recently, it'll likely be in it anyways. Please recycle where you can. You're gonna cut so many costs, and we're trying to save the environment little by little here. Recycle, stop using AI, because it's trash and it's garbage, and you're a loser if you use AI. I also got this really like squishy foam. I don't even know what this is called, but I'm sure it can be replaced with like upholstery foam, which is typically what is used in like fursuits and stuff. Not that I would know, but I'm sure this can be replaced with upholstery foam. The reason why that foam is so important is the squishy foam is going to act as the structure for the majority of the cosplay. So the way that this has been working for me is I will carve out a piece with the squishy foam, and then I will build cardboard on top of it to add structure, and then I will put those thin little foam sheets on top of that to make it like smooth. Speaking of, next is the absolute classic little foam sheets from like Walmart and Michaels. I found one. So these foam sheets, this one's cut a little bit. I probably should have found a better example, just ignore it. These foam sheets I got, I'm pretty sure at Michaels. They came in like a pack of 50, which is insane, and I have so many and they've lasted me for several projects now. But they are actually the holy grail. The only thing that will set you back a little bit if you use those, and you will see this a lot throughout the tutorial, I had to use so much foam clay to cover seams, because with the thin foam sheets, you can't do what you can do with the thicker foam sheets, which I also have bought for this project, and I also recommend that you buy for this project. The thicker foam sheets are thick enough that you can go through and you can cut them at a triangular angle, and you can match them up to each other to better hide seams, and then you will be using so much less foam clay and so much less general like material to do it. The issue is these aren't as cheap as those thin little foam sheets are. For example, with what I'm talking about with the foam clay, this is the actual bottom key part. Everything that is white is foam clay, including that little square right there. The inside has foam clay. Everything that is white is foam clay. That is a lot. It may not look like a lot, but that is a lot, and it's a lot more than you're going to want to be using when you are doing your projects. This white part is not foam clay. I lied a little bit. So next we have this little glue gun, okay? I have like 5 of these. I don't know where they keep coming from. I'm being haunted by a ghost that really, really loves hot glue guns. I keep receiving these for one reason or another, but they're another absolute classic. You will use them in pretty much any prop that I make that you see on this channel. I am constantly using hot glue. I love hot glue. I love getting little burns on my fingers. It's great. I'm pretty sure that this one is one that I got maybe from Walmart, but I did find out recently that the Dollar Tree also sells hot glue guns, so if you can get it for $1 instead of $5 like I got it for, do that. They all work the same, they all plug in, they all heat up, and they all dispense hot glue, okay? I also have hot glue sticks, which were also around $5. You can just get the cheap, like, 50 to 100 pack in Walmart. But my dad went and did a hot glue gun run for me, hot glue stick run for me, and he bought me the Gorilla Glue Gun sticks, which are significantly cooler and just better, and it doesn't mean that I'm better than you, but it's pretty close. So I have those now, and I feel super bougie while I am doing my prop work. It makes me, I guess it makes me like cool or something, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, hot glue guns are probably going to be your cheapest expense here, and they are going to be the one that is like the most needed. I use it constantly. I love hot glue guns. I love them so much, I have 5. So our next item is actually a bit of a whoopsie daisy. I bought 3 of these little, like, standard sized pool noodles. Don't buy these ones, okay? I messed up. I should have just bought 1 large pool noodle. Also, as the main structure of this cosplay prop, I also have a broomstick handle. You can get a broom or a broomstick handle, I guess, from the Dollar Tree as well. I got mine from my grandpa. He has, like me, a collection of junk that sits around, and I much appreciate it. I took the broomstick handle and I stuck it down the middle of the pool noodle to stand as the main support. Now, if you want your Paracelsus to stay kind of like floppy, I have seen people do that. That is totally fine. I'm super nervous my shit's gonna get broken. So I wanted to have the broomstick as a support because I'm a nervous wreck all the time, in case you couldn't tell by how much I said in the video, even though this is my second take and I wasn't supposed to say it at all. But Paracelsus in the game kind of moves like this, you know, a little bit like back and forth. It's not a sin to just have the pool noodle, it's just, I think it messes up the structure a little bit, but it still looks cool, so as long as you're fine with that, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I am, but I'm not going to, like, enforce the rules. So the paint that I use is the Winsor Newton paints. I buy these from Michael's. This is $14. You do not need a $14 paint, okay? This is $14, and these small, like, standard size ones, these are $7. That is going to absolutely explode the price of this. Just use Apple Barrel. The only differences that I have found between Apple Barrel and Winsor Newton is obviously with the rise in price means a rise in quality, which means that there are higher pigments in it. It's going to take less coats to put on. However, it's so much more expensive. Apple Barrel paints are like 50 cents, okay, 50 cents to $1, and for the big ones of it, they're like $3 to $4. So first we start with this pile of cardboard. Please excuse the black borders on the side for the majority of this video, as it was originally intended to be filmed for TikTok. I start by using styrofoam and a 3D filament cardboard holder to make the main structure of Paracelsus's head. In order to make this, I went from the center outwards with my styrofoam in a sort of pattern. Next, I use a thin piece of foam to build up a piece of his mouth. Then I carve out part of his eyes to create where the eye bags will sit later. Then I create a border with cardboard as well as a spot for the foam for the eyes to go with cardboard. I then cover that border with foam and fold over the edges and glue it down. The majority of this prop will be following this structure where we create something with foam, cover it in cardboard, and then use more foam in order to make it smooth, and then foam clay to cover up our seams. Next, I will build up and cover up parts of his face with the foam clay once again, creating little lines on the side where we will be putting in lines to show where those kind of flaps on the side of his head would be. Once again, using foam clay to build up where the stitches of his mouth will sit inside of. Next, I use a pool noodle that I put the handle of a broomstick down the middle of to keep it nice and structural to hold his head. Now this is where I make a mistake. I decided to cut up a few pool noodles and then glue it around the main one. This ended up creating a very lumpy look. If you guys like that, then you can follow this the way that I did it, but I do prefer a smooth look. And if you want something like that, I would recommend just using a thicker pool noodle. You can also grab them from the Dollar Tree. I also hit this with a heat gun, also made it look really lumpy. Next, we build up what the actual shape is supposed to look like using thick foam, foam clay, and those thin foam sheets once again. Then I'm using this squishy foam, as well as thin cardboard, to build up the bottom key portion, once again covering it in a thin layer of foam. Here I will be showing you how I use the foam clay to cover up seams. First, I take a little chunk of it. I squish it around a little bit to make sure that it's malleable, there's no hard chunks, then dip it in the water and squish it around some more to really get it in there and make it a little bit stickier and easier to plop onto our prop. I use a small amount of water to act as a sort of glue for the foam clay to stick to. Then section by section, I squish it down, not really worrying about form until after everything is down on there. You could always take it off afterwards. Make sure that you smooth this out as much as possible during this stage, repeatedly wetting your hands so that it doesn't stick to your fingers. If you do not smooth it out during this stage, it is really hard to sand off any excess bits that you might need, as sanding paper will typically just flake it up and tear it off of your project. Then you will end up in a cycle where you're using more than you need over and over to try and patch up mistakes that you made. After everything is dried, I take a spray paint primer and spray paint the majority of the prop. So it's been a while since I filmed last. I got really busy, and also I got a tattoo of Tomi from Junji Ito's Tomi. In the meantime, I stored Paracelsus in a pretty bad way, and as a result, his head is a little messed up now. So, okay, we just lost a stitch. But there are little bits of paint that got chipped here and there off of his face. But last I was working on it, I was deep into the painting process, so that's okay. I'll just have to paint that again. This is the little key portion I will be adding on the bottom. I wanted to add this little section in the video because there is something else I'm going to be using that I did not include in the material list, which is I have a broken plastic like clothes hanger, and I'm going to be cutting that up into 2 or 3 pieces and poking it into sections here and connecting that onto the actual staff part right along the top here. So to start Paracelsus's face surgery, I'm going back in and painting over the spots that I painted black, as I did not make them dark enough the first time. This includes the stitches on his mouth and parts of his face, as well as giving a little bit of a touch-up to areas that could have used a little bit more of that cartoony effect. I'm adding in more lines around anything that is raised. I'm adding in darker lines where I already had them. Here he is after getting his face touched up. Then I take it outside to begin using contact cement for the first time. If you wanted to buy contact cement for this, I paid $14 for this small jar. I got it from Lowe's. It's my first time using contact cement, and I didn't include it in the original pricing list as it is pretty expensive, and you can do this with hot glue. I just stored it wrong and decided to give contact cement a try. Always use gloves and a mask of some sort when using contact cement, as it is pretty toxic. I also did not realize just how stringy contact cement is, so despite not using hot glue, I could not escape the stringiness and had to remove those later. Here he is, all painted and touched up. This is the hanger I dissected to put together the key part to the staff. I'm just poking a hole in these 2 marker points that I marked using measurements from the staff, then poking the piece of hanger right into it, which I will also do on the staff itself. I also paint these black lines onto this part, again for that cartoony effect. Here he is, completely finished. Thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to come see me at Rochester Anime Fest 2026 in Rochester, New York. See you soon!